aerobic. Okay. So you have aerobic
Yes.
respiration and anaerobic respiration. All right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
For which type of respiration oxygen is required?
Yes, sir.
For which type I'm asking, for which type of respiration oxygen is required?
Sir, Arabic.
Aerobic. Okay. It's pronounced as
Yes.
aerobic respiration. Good. Hey,
Arabic.
hey Ibrahim, how are you? So in the last class, we did learn about the anaerobic respiration as well. In this, I told you that it's a type of cellular respiration. We are calling it as cellular respiration because obviously will be happening inside the cell. That takes place in the absence of oxygen to produce energy. Okay. In this case, what will happen? The glucose, that is the food of the organism, is broken down into alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy is also released in this process. There are certain organisms that carries out anaerobic respiration that can do respiration in absence of oxygen. So we had the example of yeast, which is a fungi, and we have some bacteria that can also do such a type of respiration in the absence of oxygen. And such organisms were called as anaerobes. Getting it, everyone? Okay, why haven't only you two have joined as of now? Okay, Ibrahim, turn your camera on. So what we learned about the anaerobes? We learned that anaerobes are those organisms that carries out anaerobic respiration, right? And that can exist in the absence of air. They undergo anaerobic respiration and hence they can get energy even without oxygen. So we learned about that. So organisms that can exist in the absence of air, right? Second, we learned that they undergo anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. Getting it? Then what happens? There are some byproducts released in this process. When they carry out respiration, they'll be releasing out some byproducts. By the way, Ibrahim, you have missed this topic. Just not missed, but we haven't discussed this topic with you about the aerobic respiration, about the types of respiration, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me just give
But
you a
I've
quick.
heard about it. Yes. I've
You have.
heard about it.
Okay. Let me give you a quick recap of this. See, basically, respiration can happen in two ways. There are certain organisms like we humans, we multicellular organisms, we complex organisms, right? So in order to carry out respiration, we need oxygen. Without oxygen, we cannot carry out respiration, no? Right?
Yes.
So in our body, aerobic respiration takes place. What is the need of the oxygen? Why do we need oxygen? Because oxygen in
So
our
that we
body is
can make it with nutrients and we can send it in the blood.
no, that is not the case. Basically, what you are trying to say is that so that we can break down the food and obtain energy from it, right now. So we
Yes.
need oxygen to break down the food, to burn the food and obtain energy from it. Other than energy, some waste products or the byproducts like carbon dioxide and water is also given out in that. Okay. Next, I also told you guys that this aerobic respiration happens inside a place in the cell that is called as mitochondria. Where exactly this happens? In the mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
So in mitochondria, aerobic respiration is happening. And sometimes this mitochondria, since energy is being released now, energy
Yes.
is released here. So sometimes it is also called as powerhouse of the cell. What do we call this? Powerhouse of
The cell.
the cell. So cell gets all the power from the mitochondria. Okay. Next, I was telling you about anaerobic respiration. Some of the things I have already described here, right? So anaerobes are the organisms that can exist in the absence of air. They undergo anaerobic respiration. Okay. Hey Halima, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, sir.
Good. Then I told you that anaerobes, when they will be carrying out anaerobic respiration, they will release some byproducts. So what are the byproducts released by them? Byproducts like alcohol and
carbon dioxide
carbon dioxide
and energy.
are released are released in this process, are released in anaerobic respiration. Okay. So in exams, questions may be asked about the anaerobes. So you will define that anaerobes are those organisms that can exist in the absence of air and they carry out anaerobic respiration. So they can get energy even without oxygen, right? Also, these examples that I have given here, they are unicellular organisms. What are they? They are
Unicellular.
they are
Unis-
unicellular. Okay, unicellular, made up of just one cell. Okay. Then there are several use of this anaerobic respiration. There are several application of anaerobic respiration. Getting it? One of the biggest application of anaerobic respiration is in the baking industry, right? And also in the alcohol industry, right? You guys might have heard about fermentation, right now? Somewhere must
Yes.
have learned about fermentation. So via the process of fermentation only, this bread becomes fluffy, or in the alcohol industry, with the help of the natural sugar obtained from the fruits like the berry, right? From wheat and barley, alcohol is prepared. Getting it, everyone. So in both the places, fermentation happens. And what exactly happens in fermentation? So fermentation is a process, right, which can be carried out by the fungi like yeast. What is fermentation here? It's a process that can be carried by microscopic organisms like a fungi, this one over here,
Wait,
or
so
can
their
also be carried by
byproducts,
bacteria.
so their byproducts make the bread fluffy, right? Or is it different?
No, it's the byproduct. Particularly the release of the carbon dioxide makes the bread fluffy. Okay, we'll be learning about that once again, as we have learned that already. So anaerobic respiration can take place in the yeast. That is called as fermentation. By the way, anaerobic respiration is done by a good number of bacteria also. They can also carry out anaerobic respiration. Okay. So in the case of the yeast particularly, what they will be doing? Give me 1 minute. I just need to make a correction over here. Yeah, better now. So I was saying that suppose you have taken this dough. Okay. You have taken dough, you have added some sugar in it also, and you have added yeast powder in it now. Dough plus yeast powder. Yeast powder will obviously contain the yeast in it. So then what will happen? Some amount of alcohol will be produced. Then carbon dioxide gas will be given out, and energy will also be produced. Now this energy that is given out in this process now, right? That will be used up by the yeast. So what the yeast will do? It will start to multiply. The yeast cell will start to multiply rapidly. Hearing it now, it reproduces rapidly. So as it will be reproducing rapidly, so there'll be like so much of yeast in this, and all of them will be carrying out this anaerobic respiration, and they will release lots of carbon dioxide gas, right? So this process where one complex like one given organic substance has been converted into another substances, into another simpler substances, that is called as fermentation. By definition, if you were to talk about like uh, how do we define fermentation? Hmm? So fermentation is a process in which a substance breaks down into simpler substance. What is breaking here? It's glucose,
Glucose.
right? So glucose is breaking down into simpler substances here. And in which case it is breaking down? Like how is it breaking down? It is breaking down in anaerobic respiration that is being carried out by yeast. Okay. And here it produces carbon dioxide, which will form bubbles in the dough, and the bubbles will cause the dough to rise. It will result in light and fluffy bread. Okay. So when you cut the bread slices, okay, so then you can see the air holes in it. Getting it? That is the thing. Hope you guys have understood it so far.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. You guys like eating bread?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
But bread eating bread has several disadvantages. Okay, now one should reduce the consumption of bread. It's not good for health. Why so? Because the packed bread that is available in the market, okay, na, it has so much of it has particularly like so much of adulteration is done in that. Getting it now? Particularly the
Like they
white
add
bread
more chemicals, like more chemicals they add to make it more fluffier and to make it look better and tastier.
to enhance its shelf life. Getting it? So there are some issues related to that. Many types of the bread, particularly the white bread, okay, na, it
Yeah.
can lead to quick rise in the blood sugar. It can contribute in gaining weight and can affect our health, can lead to some health issues. Okay, so that is the thing. But the bread that is completely made of the wheat, getting it, and not made from the white, not the white bread, getting it, so that one
Yeah.
does not have that much of issue. Okay, no. Also, some people could be gluten sensitive. Like some people can often face a digestive issue due to gluten. What is gluten? Gluten is a type of protein that is found in the bread. It's a protein found
Found in the bread
in bread, and some people find it difficult to digest the gluten. Anyways,
because of weak digestive systems.
weak digestive system, we can say that. So that is the thing. Now, other than being used in the baking industry, we see that the same yeast is also used in the alcohol industry. You see these big chambers here, alcohol is being prepared. So what is basically done? The fruits are taken, different types of fruits are taken, berries and different type apples, different types of fruits are taken, and they are put into these closed chambers. Then yeast powder will be added, and then what they will do, they will convert the glucose present in the fruits, right, into alcohol. Here ethanol is basically alcohol. So here again anaerobic respiration is happening here. Here again in
Anaerobic
anaerobic respiration it will be happening. Hope you guys have understood the use of
respiration.
anaerobic respiration. Any questions?
No, sir.
So what were the two uses of anaerobic respiration?
They were used for the baking industry as well as for the alcohol industry.
Exactly. So yeast is used in baking and alcohol
Alcohol
industry.
industry.
Good.
Sir, is there any substitute for yeast?
Is there any substitute for yeast? Okay.
Yeah, like something that acts like yeast, but it's not.
Yeah, like in the baking industry, we can use the baking soda, baking powder. That can be used. So yeah, there are some substitutes. We have some substitutes of the yeast. We can use the baking powder. Getting it? No? So that can
But
be used.
yeast is the why is yeast used? Like why isn't baking powder used more?
Why
Is it
isn't baking?
because of its quality or the price?
No, it. I don't think it necessarily has got to do with that thing. See, basically, both of them will have slightly different effect. Okay, no. Although both yeast and baking soda, baking powder, I mean to say that although that both yeast and baking powder is used in the baking industry. Okay, now yeast is also used and baking powder is also used. Right now, yeast here is a living organism that will be fermenting the sugar. It will produce carbon dioxide and it will cause the dough to rise. While the baking powder that we are
Baking
seeing now,
powder is
it's
chemical
a
reaction.
chemical substance, right now.
Yes.
So it what it does, the baking powder will react with the moisture and the heat in it to create the same effect. So yeast is particularly important for the bread and different other products that requires a slow like process. Basically, if you want to have a specific type of flavor, okay, na? Like when we'll be using the yeast here, it will give a it will have a peculiar kind of flavor. Getting it? Well, baking powder is favored for quick breads when you have to do the process faster, right? And when you have to quickly prepare the bread, then the baking powder can be used. It's also used in the cakes where you need to like quickly make the bread fluffy. Okay, na? And like addition of yeast gives a different kind of flavor. Addition of baking powder won't give any kind of flavor, but addition of
Sir,
yeast will
yeast
give
means
a
flour.
yeast means flour. No, yeast here
Yes.
is a fungi. Yeast is a fungi. Yeast here is a
He's saying
microscopic
that
organism.
he's
Uh-huh.
saying that yeast is it slower than baking powder.
Yeah, it works slower. Okay, it works slower.
Okay.
Okay. How are you, Salman? Guys, answer this question.
Anaerobic. Anaerobic.
That is anaerobic. Anaerobic means that in absence of oxygen, right?
Yes.
Absence of oxygen, particularly. Okay. So we have learned about anaerobic respiration so far. We have learned about the application, like how it is advantageous, right? It is advantageous, like we use it for what?
Sir,
In
I
baking
didn't
industry and in
understand.
alcohol. Which one?
Sir, I have a question.
Tell me.
It's showing in that slideshow about the person how he gets cramps.
Yeah, the
I
same
didn't
topic.
understand the whole anaerobic concept. I didn't understand it completely.
Okay, okay. I'll be happy to explain that. Okay, hold on. See, what happens in anaerobic respiration? The breakdown of glucose, that is basically food, will take place in the absence of oxygen. Now listen, when it is carried by the yeast, then it is broken down into different byproducts. When anaerobic respiration is carried out by the yeast, alcohol is given out and carbon dioxide and along with energy. But when we get muscular cramps, there also anaerobic respiration happens, but here alcohol is not produced, but lactic acid is produced. Different things is produced here. Okay, now don't worry, we'll be learning about that in detail. Getting it? So question is like, are there some advantages of anaerobic respiration? So some of the advantages we have already discussed, right? But there's some particular examples, right? Now, we humans beings, as we know that, normally obtain energy by aerobic respiration now, right? But under certain conditions, like when extra energy is needed, anaerobic respiration can take place in our muscles for a short time. For a short time, right? So when the
Yes, sir.
oxygen gets used up faster in our muscle cells, right? When the oxygen gets used up faster in our muscle cells, then muscle cells then can be supplied by the blood. Okay, what will happen as we are doing some intense physical workout? Okay, so oxygen will be getting used up very faster. Then it can
Yes,
be
sir.
supplied by the blood. So the supply of the blood is not meeting the oxygen requirement. Suppose
Okay.
that this is our some muscle cells. Okay, this is a muscle tissue, suppose. All right. And we are doing intense workout. We are lifting some heavy weight, or we are running a marathon. So it needs high oxygen. High oxygen is required. Okay. But the blood supply is not sufficient here. Getting it? The supply over here is not meeting the oxygen requirement here. In this case, blood supply blood is not supplying the required oxygen. Okay, whenever we are doing some intense physical workout. So in that case, right, there's a temporary deficiency of oxygen in the muscle cells. Deficiency, you understand, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it leads to a temporary deficiency of oxygen in the muscle cells. So whenever we do physical exercise, fast running, cycling, weightlifting, etc., our muscles needs a lot of energy. To produce more energy, our muscles needs more oxygen, but the supply of oxygen through the blood is limited here, and hence it is insufficient. So under these conditions, anaerobic respiration takes place in our muscle cells without oxygen to produce extra energy, and it fulfills the demand for more energy. So hence, anaerobic respiration takes place in our muscle cells during any vigorous physical activity, during any intense physical work activity, when oxygen is being used up faster in the muscle cells than can be supplied by the blood. Again, let me explain this thing. Anaerobic respiration takes place in our muscle cells during intense physical activity where oxygen gets used up faster in the muscle cells than it can be supplied by the blood. Is the point clear to everyone?
Yes.
So here what has happened, let me write that in the form of a word equation. So the word equation for this anaerobic respiration in our muscle cells would be glucose.
But sir, I've heard
Oops.
then we get muscle cramps.
Obviously we will get muscle cramps. I'll be completing that explanation in a while. Let me write down this equation first. Okay. We'll be getting the muscular cramp because lactic acid is produced here. See, so no oxygen, right? So then anaerobic respiration will happen in our muscles. Okay, and as a result of this, lactic acid is given out. Lactic acid plus energy, right? By the way, energy here is produced, like energy that is produced here, it is stored in the form of some molecules that we call as ATP. Okay, that is the thing here. Now, this lactic acid that is produced here, it accumulates in your cells, right now? It accumulates over there in your cells and it causes muscular pain. It gives you a muscular cramp. Okay, now? So here glucose is partially breaking down. It's not completely breaking down. Getting it? Glucose partially breaks down into lactic acid and it releases some amount of energy, less amount of energy is released. So although in our body, in most part of our body, aerobic respiration is happening, we are getting energy, but here we are getting some extra energy now, right? So it helps us in doing hard physical exercise. Okay. So that is the thing. Also, keep this thing in mind that no matter what kind of heavy physical exercise we are doing, most of the energy is still produced by aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration in muscles provides only some extra energy which is needed under these circumstances. Okay. Anaerobic respiration can never take place. Like I mean to say that, note down this thing that anaerobic respiration does not take place only in the muscles of the human beings. It also takes place in the muscles of other animals as well. Even in the muscles of lions, tiger, deer, when they will be running very fast, when they require much more energy than normal, even they will be facing this muscular cramp. Understood this point? Okay. So that.
So,
Mhm.
sir, so we are not built to have anaerobic respiration in short.
Yeah, we can say that, like, our entire body is not built in a way to carry out an anaerobic respiration, because anaerobic respiration, while it will be giving you some extra energy, but it comes with some disadvantages also, like it leads to muscular cramps. Okay, so lactic acid, what happens? Lactic acid accumulates in muscular cells and causes muscle cramps. Okay, causes muscle cramps. Okay, it has happened with me several times. Okay. Hope you guys have understood this much.
Yes.
Any questions?
Sir,
No, sir.
energy is ATP, right?
Energy is stored in the form of ATP. It's
Okay.
the in form of a molecule in which it is stored basically.
So
Okay, if you're
what's
not
meaning of
getting it, just
ATP?
it's adenosine triphosphate. It's form of molecule in which the energy is stored. Okay, now just forget about it. It's like if you're finding it a bit difficult, just leave it. Okay. Talking about the advantage here. So the advantages of all of this is that the first advantage is that the athlete here, right? This athlete here got some extra energy, right, to finish the task. Although it has some disadvantages, like he got muscular cramp, but suppose he was running a marathon, he got some extra energy in order to walk, in order to run the marathon, finish the marathon. So it's a so it's a faster process as well. In comparison to aerobic respiration, the energy making process here, like the release of energy here, is faster, right? Then it does not require oxygen. Even if your muscle cells are not getting enough amount of oxygen, respiration will happen here, although anaerobic respiration is happening here. So that is an advantage of the anaerobic respiration here. Getting the point here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but the disadvantage here is that we get muscular cramps. So the question here is that how do we get relief from that muscular cramp? So we'll be learning about that. Ibrahim, read the given paragraph.
Anaerobic respiration in human beings. Muscle cells need a lot of energy, however, at times the amount of oxygen available is limited. When organisms respire anaerobically, the muscles convert glucose to lactic acid. The lactic acid builds up in the muscles and can cause cramps which people feel during intense exercise. When there's insufficient blood flow to deliver oxygen, anaerobic respiration occurs.
Good. Okay. Now, question is how do we get relief from this? Will this pain be forever or will we get relief here? So basically, whenever the blood circulation to the muscles will improve now, these are the muscle cells over here as shown in the diagram. So when the blood circulation will improve, there will be more flow of blood to this. So then the pain will go away basically, right? So
So hot water.
we can take a hot water bath, right? Or we can basically massage over the area right now.
By
So
using hot
in
water.
exactly, or using hot water, taking a hot water bath or massaging will improve the circulation of blood in the muscles. And due to the improved blood flow, the supply of oxygen to the muscle will increase, and that will further break down the lactic acid which has accumulated into carbon dioxide and water, and hence we get relief from it. Let me write it down. We get relief from muscular cramps, muscular cramps by improving the blood circulation to the affected area. This can be done by a hot shower, like a hot water bath or massage. Then the increased flow of the blood, right now, it will provide the oxygen basically, right now. So due to improved in the blood flow, supply of oxygen to the muscle increases, right now. So um, once the supply of oxygen supply of oxygen is normal, then lactic acid that has accumulated, right? Lactic acid breaks down. It will now break down into water and carbon dioxide. So breaks down into carbon dioxide and water, and hence we get relief. We get relief from that pain. Hope this point is clear. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's understand the differences between the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration. Okay. Okay. See, in the case of aerobic respiration, energy is produced by the breakdown of the food like glucose, right now,
With the help of oxygen.
with the help of oxygen. That's the main point here. Sorry. And it takes place inside the cell of the organisms. Particularly, it takes place inside the
Mitochondria.
mitochondria. Very good. Then also we have learned about the aerobic respiration, that it completely breaks down the food. The complete breakdown of the food occurs in the case of aerobic respiration. And the end products are carbon dioxide and water. And it releases a considerable amount of energy. A good amount of energy is released in the case of aerobic respiration. All the points I have mentioned, just
Sir,
opposite of this will be happening in anaerobic respiration. Yeah,
and the energy is used by the body.
The
obviously.
anaerobic respiration
Hmm.
will be done without using oxygen, and
Right.
the products will be not completely broken down. For example, instead of getting a more broken down form of glucose, we get lactic acid plus the energy, which is very minimal, which is
Exactly.
minimal.
Hmm. That's the thing. The partial breakdown of food happens here. So let me write down the important points over here. So this one is for
Sir,
anaerobic respiration.
for
Yeah,
anaerobic respiration examples are like yeast and bacteria.
exactly. Very good. Anaerobic respiration. Uh, hold on. Anaerobic respiration takes place in unicellular organisms like fungi, like yeast, and then in bacteria. Good point.
And the aerobic respiration happens in multicellular and organisms with more cells.
Exactly. Like we humans.
Sir, is it possible if like not one-celled organism, like
Hmm.
an organism which has very less cells, like about
Hmm.
30 to 50 cells, can
Yeah.
have an aerobic respiration? Is it possible?
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. Right now, there are certain organisms that have like 30, 40, 50 cells, but they will still be able to carry, they will be able to carry out anaerobic respiration. Okay, no?
Okay.
It is quite possible. It's not a very alien thing, getting it. So about the aerobic respiration, first thing to be mentioned here is that, okay, energy is produced by the breakdown of food, that is glucose, in presence of air. To be very specific, that is oxygen.
Oxygen.
Sir, you will share
And
the notes also in the chat.
yeah, I have shared in the last class. I'll be sharing in this one
Yes,
as
sir.
well. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Ayush is absent today, no? Okay, okay. Now in this, what will happen? Energy is produced yes, by the breakdown of food in absence of oxygen or absence of air, specifically, that is oxygen. Okay. Then we learn that it is carried out by,
The cells by the mitochondria present in the cells.
okay, yeah, we'll be writing that as well. So it is carried out by the multicellular organisms, but in this one, it is usually
carried out by a unicellular.
by unicellular organisms.
Very good. Unicellular organisms. Okay. But keep this thing in mind that exceptions are everywhere. All right, now? Exceptions are
Yes.
everywhere. Okay. Then this one happens in the
So they can cut marks in the exam if we write it is only in if we write only instead of usual, we lose marks, right?
yeah, you can lose like if the teacher is very specific, then you can lose, or sometimes the teacher might not deduct the mark. Okay. So that is the thing. Further, I
Like if
told
we
you
have
that
the same.
right. So it takes place in mitochondria of the cell, right? But in this case, it will take place in cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm.
It takes place in cytoplasm of cell. Another point
Sir,
here,
anaerobic respiration is in coronavirus as well, right?
yeah, obviously they'll be carrying out this type of respiration.
I've heard that it's
But
made of more
uh,
than it's made of something like 6 cells. It contains an ammonia membrane also, something like that.
no, see, viruses are usually unicellular. Viruses, they are unicellular actually. Getting it? So it
Because I heard
can't.
something like
But
some
like,
membrane.
see, in fact, like we sometimes we consider them as acellular. Like they lack a cellular structure. If you were to look at the structure of the virus, no, in the eighth and in the other classes, you will get to learn about that in detail. Okay. See, viruses does not have a peculiar structure. Like they don't have a proper cell structure. They lack many things. Like bacteria are the unicellular organisms. They are made up of one single cell. But viruses do not have cells at all. They cannot be called to have any cells at all. Getting the thing I'm trying to make you understand?
Oh, so it's just membranes, not any cover like that.
Yeah, you can say that. But by membrane means the outer boundary basically. Okay, no. So if you were to talk about the structure here, right?
Yeah,
So it's
like an
basically
Ebola membrane. That's why.
yeah, like it's basically their genetic material is having a protein coat around it basically. Right now, it has a protein coat around it. Like whether it's DNA or RNA, it is inside the protein coat. If you talk about the structure, see, usually what are the components of a cell? It's like nucleus, cytoplasm, and the cell organelle, right now.
Yeah.
So these things are not present in the cell structure of a virus. They just contain genetic material, like it could be DNA or RNA, and they will be just having a protein coat around it. Getting it? What I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you'll be completely getting it once you study about that in depth in biology. Okay, now that will be the thing I have told you. Just might have just given you a vague idea about it. Okay, getting back to this point here. So it takes place in the mitochondria of the cell, while aerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Another point I'm writing over here is that in this, food is completely broken down, right? In this,
Yes.
Food is
complete
completely broken.
complete
And in
breakdown.
anaerobic respiration, it's partially broken down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here, partial breakdown.
A food takes place.
Good. Takes place. Okay, another interesting thing is that the byproducts are
Um.
The
Alcohol,
byproducts here are lactic
carbon,
acid, carbon
mhm,
dioxide, plus
and
water plus energy.
Lactic acid.
okay. Yeah. By the way, energy is not a product in itself. Try to understand that. Energy is not a product, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a product, right? Because energy is being produced by the glucose and oxygen.
but
It is
it,
being
So
but it
produced,
is
but
used by the humans.
yeah, like we can't this as a product. Like calling energy a product is bit
Oh,
inappropriate. Getting it what I'm trying to
so
say.
so
Mhm.
like it's what can you say? It just goes to your into your body so that you can do work. So in short, it's not a product. Only the
exactly.
carbon dioxide.
Exactly. Right now, like particularly when we talk about energy in the context of the chemical reactions, so there it is particularly not appropriate to refer it as product.
Product.
Getting it now? So
Yes, sir.
instead of that, we should be calling like basically some energy is given out that can be used to carry out different tasks. Okay. Then in this byproducts that will be produced in anaerobic respiration, it depends upon in which
Alcohol.
organism it is happening. If it is being carried out by the yeast,
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Alcohol
Plus
plus
alcohol plus
uh,
energy.
carbon
Alcohol
dioxide.
plus carbon dioxide.
Carbon
carbon
dioxide.
dioxide.
Good. So in that case, it's
And energy.
alcohol plus.
Alcohol plus carbon dioxide.
Energy.
Very good.
Carbon
Sir,
dioxide.
water
Okay.
Missing
also.
energy.
No, not water. Not water. But see, when this will be carried out in our muscle cells, right?
Yes. We'll
Muscle
get
cells,
lactic acid.
then
Yeah.
we'll be
We'll get
only
lactic
getting
acid.
Lactic
exactly.
acid.
Then you only get
Acid.
very good lactic acid.
Lactic acid.
Good. And moments ago we have learned how we get relief from it. So when we have to get relief from it, let
Yeah.
me just write it over there. Like what exactly happens when we take a hot bath or when we massage the area. So then what will happen? That lactic acid will break down into carbon dioxide and water.
Oh, that's
Carbon dioxide and water when we take massage or water bath. Getting it? Hope you guys have understood it so far, right?
Yes. Sir.
So that is particularly hot water bath or whether we are massaging that area. So when there's sufficient supply of oxygen to the muscle cells, then it will be breaking down the lactic acid finally into carbon dioxide and water. So you now get relief from the muscular cramps. So that is the thing here. Okay, let's discuss some questions. Then next we'll be learning about respiration in the plants. Here we have finished the respiration in animals, right? Next will be in the
yes.
plants. Yeah. So what is respiration? Everyone will be defining it. Yeah, take few seconds to frame your answer first. While answering, everyone have to keep the cameras on.
Sir, can I answer?
Yeah.
Respiration is the process by which organisms either use oxygen, either do a process either aerobic or anaerobic, which which breaks down the food that they have eaten into nutrients which they can use, which produce energy so that for their survival.
Okay.
Which is
There's some improvement is required in your definition, by the way. Okay.
So can
Others?
I?
Yeah.
So respiration is a biochemical process, which is that is a chemical process, right?
Biochemical,
Occurs.
it's correct. You can say biochemical. Continue.
It occurs inside the cell.
Mhm.
In that the energy is released, and the waste product like carbon dioxide and water, carbon dioxide and water is formed.
Okay. Okay. Next.
So the process by which respiration uh, take the
so the second question.
No, I'm asking the first question only right now.
Oh,
Okay. Next, you guys prepare the answer for the second question. Meanwhile, once everyone will be finished, we'll be discussing the next questions.
List out the different types of respiration. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Salman, you try. Abhiraj, I will get back to you in a minute. Yeah, Salman.
Yes, sir. Can I also give a try after him, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, for the second question.
No, for the first question. You haven't answered the first question, no? Answer it. Mhm. See, you can give a very simple definition for it.
Sir, respiration is the process of biochemical.
You can say respiration is a biochemical process in which breakdown of the food in the cells of the body takes place, and there's release of energy. You can answer it in the following manner. Okay, who was going to repeat the definition? I think Ibrahim, you were going to say something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
respiration is a biological process done done in all organisms, which is used to break down food into simpler forms, which is used for sustaining life of the organism.
Very well explained. Very good. Right. Abhiraj, you also explained this.
Sir, the process by which respiration
Respiration, you can simplify it further. You can say that respiration is the process in which food is broken down to release energy. You can keep it more simple. Yes, Abhiraj? Respiration is
yes,
the
sir.
process in which food is broken down to release energy. Okay. Next question, list out the different types of respiration. Yeah. What are they?
Sir,
Aerobic and
Arabic
anaerobic
And
respiration.
Very good. Then list out the different types of anaerobic respiration. So here what I'm saying that
Different types are in the muscles of
sir,
the
are you
body,
talking about
in the
examples?
yeast,
hmm,
and in bacteria, in viruses, in the muscles present in our body, etc.
hmm, very good. By the way, one clarification I would like to make here. See, generally the viruses do not carry out respiration. Okay, na? They are not capable of carrying out respiration. Getting it?
So how do they break down the
They
energy?
will see basically they will hijack the machinery of the host cells as they enter inside the cell of another
They
organism. Like
technically don't need energy. So they technically are just,
no,
like,
they do need energy. They do need energy, but you know that viruses once like when they have not entered into a living cells, they are technically dead. Viruses unless they have not entered into the host cell, unless it has not entered into the cell of an
so they
animal, a
just
plant, or a bacteria, it does not shows any symptom of life. It won't do any functions. But once it has entered into the cell of a host organism, like if a virus has entered into my body, suppose, then it will hijack the host cells. Getting what I'm trying to say? It will kind of hijack the machinery of the host cells, and then it will be using it for reproduction particularly. So viruses, they rely upon the host cells to do reproduction particularly. That is the thing. Getting it what I'm trying to say?
yes, sir.
Okay, and viruses only replicate. Okay, now they will only replicate. They will depend upon the host cells for whatever processes they have to carry out. Yeah. So two kinds of anaerobic respiration we have learned about. Ibrahim has explained. Others also explained this.
Sir, we should give an example.
Like types of anaerobic respiration which we have discussed. What were they?
Sir, carbon dioxide plus yeast, and sir, water.
You should rather be seeing that anaerobic respiration carried out by the yeast, and second will be anaerobic respiration in the muscle cells during intense physical workout. Okay, that is the thing. Now again, one question is that where does aerobic respiration happen in the cell, and where does anaerobic respiration occurs in the cell? Yeah.
aerobic respiration aerobic respiration in anaerobic respiration occurs in the cytoplasm, while aerobic respiration occurs in the mitochondria present in the cells.
Exactly. So that is in mitochondria. By the way, let me just give you a clear idea about the
Anaerobic
cytoplasm.
is, anaerobic is in mitochondria.
No, it's aerobic. Anaerobic respiration that happens in the cytoplasm.
Oh.
Okay, let me make this thing a bit more clear. Okay, suppose if you have taken a balloon, let's say you have filled that balloon with water. All right, it's all fluffy, right? You have filled it with water, and inside that balloon, you have somehow you have inserted a ball inside that balloon.
A small ball.
Getting it?
Yes.
And all this water that you're seeing here, no? Right?
Yes.
That liquid over here. Okay. Now, if you were to compare this thing with the structure of a cell, in context of cell,
It would be similar.
it would be similar. Like we can make a comparison here. So this ball here would be basically the nucleus.
Mitochondria.
No, nucleus.
No nucleus.
Okay.
Okay, now nucleus
I
is
thought it was
nothing but the
mitochondria.
brain of the cell. What is it? Brain of cell. Okay.
So control part.
Yeah, it
So that's
basically
where the
controls.
viruses hijack it.
Yeah, it will be kind of hijacking the nucleus. We can say that about the virus as you were mentioning. Now, this water that you were seeing over here, that is basically same as like cytoplasm. Now you understood.
Hey, cytoplasm or mitochondria?
And talking about this mitochondria will be basically floating in the cytoplasm. Okay, now that is
Oh.
mitochondria. It will basically float in the cytoplasm. Hope you guys are able to understand this thing now.
Yes, sir.
So aerobic respiration happens in this mitochondria, while the anaerobic respiration happens in the this cytoplasm basically.
Cytoplasm.
Okay. Next will be the respiration in plants. As you know that not only we humans and the animals need energy, but even the plants need energy in order to carry out different functions, right? Whether it be energy requirement for growth, for reproduction, for repairment of the damaged tissues, they need energy, right now. But the interesting part is that they, unlike we humans or animals, they don't have to depend upon others for food. They are the primary producer of the food right now, right?
Yes.
They are
One of the
autotrophs.
primary.
Exactly. Getting it. They are the only primary producer of the food, by the way. Not one, but the only primary producer of the food. Getting it.
But aren't bacteria also can make their own food also?
Yeah, there are some of the bacterias, like we have blue-green algae, like that is cyanobacteria. They have chlorophyll pigment in them. They can carry out photosynthesis. Algae are also there, by the way. They can also carry out photosynthesis. Okay. But in general, they are called as the primary producer of the food, right? Most of the food requirement is met by the green plants. So in the process of photosynthesis, they take in raw material like oxygen, sorry, I mean to say carbon dioxide from the air is taken, right? Other than carbon dioxide, water is taken out from the soil by the help of the roots. Particularly, it goes to the aerial part of the plants, particularly to the stem by the xylem tissue, right? And here, photosynthesis will take place inside the where? Inside the
Inside
stomatal
the
cells.
chloroplast. Huh?
Chloroplast, which
Oh,
contains chlorophyll, right?
yeah.
Now, you have a stomata. Inside the stomata, you have got chloroplast. Inside the chloroplast, you have chlorophyll. So basically, inside the chloroplast, this photosynthesis takes place. Okay. I'll be writing down the important things regarding respiration in plants in the next class. I'm just giving a brief introduction to this point, to this topic. So their photosynthesis will happen, and as a result, end products of photosynthesis is glucose as well as oxygen. Right. So this same glucose that is prepared in the plant's body, as you know, plants can synthesize this glucose into different forms. Like they will be immediately storing it in the form of the starch. They can also
Starch.
convert it into protein and in fat also. Salman, you were saying something? Oh, you raised your hand. Getting it.
Like for example, nuts. They can be turned from their fats can be stored in the form of nuts.
Exactly. Because the
And
plant
proteins and example.
exactly, no, right? Because the plant products that we consume, not only they contain a starch, but some of the plant products like linseeds, oil seeds, right? They contain fat in it, right? Then certain type of plant products, certain type of vegetables or beans that we eat are a good source of protein, etc. Getting back to main thing here, we don't have to discuss about the like protein and oil and other things. The main thing is that what the plant would be doing, they would be breaking down that glucose, okay, and same thing will be happening here as well. Getting it? The oxygen will be breaking down the glucose, and then water and carbon dioxide will be released here. There's some interesting thing about this. The same carbon dioxide produced in the respiration can be used to carry out photosynthesis. Okay. So we'll be learning about all that in the next class. Let me put some screenshots here. By the way, this respiration not only happens in the um, um, respiration, I'm saying, yeah, respiration not only happens in the leaf, but in some cases, in some plants, it even happens in the stem, particularly the like in the shrubs, in some of the shrubs, or in some of
Cactus.
the small, some of the smaller plants which has tender stems. Getting it? I'm putting the screenshots in the chat box. Make sure you guys save it, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Where else have you guys heard about the name of lactic acid?
I've heard the word lactic acid when when people have problems in drinking milk because of the lactose, because of
Milk
the
of
lactic acid
magnesia.
present in milk.
Sir,
Lactic
milk
acid
of
is,
magnesia.
that's a different thing. That is magnesium hydroxide.
Curd and milk.
In curd, in curd and in sour milk, lactic acid is found. Okay. Let's
Sir,
so yeah. Yeah.
sir, so lactose also causes problem due to weak digestion, right?
Yeah, some people are kind of resistant to lactose. They
They
have this
say
problem.
they say that when you're above 40 you should drink less milk because your body's the bacteria present in your body have already become too old and cannot, like, break down lactose properly. Is
Yeah,
that
like
true?
yeah, it is to some extent it is true. To some extent it is true that people should avoid overconsumption, or like we should avoid overconsumption of the milk. Getting it now? Why so? Because it can lead to some health issues, overconsumption, right? It can lead to digestive issue like bloating, like diarrhea in some individuals. Getting it? There's a risk of gain of the weight as well. Okay. One of the reason is about the lactose also right now. So certain people find it difficult to digest lactose. Okay, now people might find it difficult to digest the lactose.
Sir, what
Okay,
meaning of lactose?
lactose is basically like it's type of a sugar that is naturally found in the milk. It's a type
Yeah,
of
for example, like sucrose,
sucrose. Yeah,
it's like a form of natural sugar present in the milk.
exactly. Getting it? So what happens in order to digest the lactose? Okay, now your small intestine needs to produce a substance called as lactase. Okay, let me clarify that a bit. Lactase needs to be produced. Okay, so if even enough amount of lactase is not being produced by a small intestine, then it will be difficult to digest the lactose. Okay, na? That is the thing. Also,
And
what
it will
happens
cause
when,
digestive problems.
yeah, what will happen when this undigested lactose will reach the colon? Colon is one of the part of the small intestine. Like when it will reach there, it will cause some digestive problems like bloating, diarrhea, abdominal pain, sometimes gas. That is the thing. So as you have mentioned that it is true that